What is unfolding right now in Nigeria's political space is more than just another round of party switching.
To thank the leader, a warm welcome. And I'll show him that we are coming.
It is a signal that the opposition is actively recalibrating ahead of 2027. Reports that Peter Obi and Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso are set to leave the African Democratic Congress and align with the Nigeria Democratic Congress tell us that the search for a stable and competitive platform is still ongoing. This is significant because both Obi and Kwankwaso are not fringe players. They represent two of the most influential political forces from the 2023 election cycle. Obi's appeal among young voters and urban populations, combined with Kwankwaso's deep-rooted grassroots network in the Northwest, creates a political combination that cannot be ignored. So when two figures with that level of influence begin to move together, it is not just a party decision, it is a strategic realignment that could shape the entire opposition landscape. What stands out to me is the timing and the coordination behind this move. The Unity Summit held in Abuja under the theme One Voice, One Vision, In Unity We Win, was not just symbolic. It was a deliberate step toward building a shared political direction. When you see such coordination happening alongside reports of an imminent defection, it becomes clear that this is a calculated move rather than a reaction to immediate pressure. Now, to understand why this shift is happening, you have to look closely at what has been going on within the African Democratic Congress. The party was initially seen as a potential neutral platform that could host a broad coalition, especially for opposition figures who wanted to avoid the internal baggage of older parties. But over time, internal crisis, leadership disputes, and structural uncertainty have weakened that perception. In Nigerian politics, stability is everything. A party must not only exist on paper, it must be seen as organized, predictable, and capable of managing internal disagreements without falling apart. Once that perception begins to fade, confidence drops quickly. From my analysis, this is exactly what is happening with the ADC. Political actors are not just looking at ideology, they are looking at whether a party can carry the weight of a national election. If the internal structure is shaky, then the entire campaign strategy becomes risky. This is why key figures begin to reconsider their position. It is not necessarily about abandoning a vision, but about finding a platform that can actually deliver that vision without internal disruptions. Leadership issues also play a major role here. When there is no clear direction or when factions within a party are pulling in different directions, it becomes difficult to build trust. And without trust, coalition politics cannot survive. From where I stand, the ADC crisis has reached a point where it is no longer just an internal matter. It is now influencing national political decisions. This brings us to the emergence of the Nigeria Democratic Congress as a new focal point for opposition alignment. The NDC is gradually positioning itself as an alternative platform that offers what the ADC currently struggles to provide, which is perceived stability and openness to coalition building. From my perspective, this is why it is beginning to attract attention from major political figures. A new or repositioned party often presents an opportunity to reset negotiations, redefine leadership expectations, and build structures from a cleaner slate. That kind of flexibility is very attractive in a political environment where existing platforms are weighed down by internal conflicts. The role of key figures associated with the NDC, including individuals like Dixon, is also important in shaping how the party is perceived. Leadership presence gives credibility, and credibility attracts more stakeholders. When political actors believe that a party has direction, organization, and a willingness to accommodate different interests, they are more likely to align with it. From what I see, the NDC is benefiting from this perception at a time when the opposition is actively searching for a reliable vehicle. However, it is important to keep this analysis grounded. Moving to a new platform does not automatically guarantee success. The real challenge lies in how well these alliances are managed after the move. Obi and Kwankwaso may bring strong followings, but sustaining that unity under a new party structure will require clear agreements, mutual understanding, and disciplined coordination. Nigerian political history has shown that alliances often look strong at the beginning but can weaken under pressure if expectations are not properly aligned. That is why the focus should not just be on the defection itself, but on what happens after. Can the NDC truly provide the stability and structure that the ADC could not maintain? And can the key players involved put aside individual ambitions long enough to build a unified front? From where I stand, this development is a strong signal that the opposition is still actively trying to correct its weaknesses from previous elections. Whether this move becomes a game changer or just another reshuffling of political positions will depend on how well these decisions are executed in the coming months. From my perspective, the most important thing to understand about the emerging alignment between Peter Obi and Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is that it is built on a simple but powerful idea: strength in numbers. These are two political figures who, individually, already command significant loyalty, but when you begin to combine their regional influence, the picture changes entirely. Obi's support base is deeply rooted in the southeast and extends into parts of the south-south, with a strong appeal among young voters, professionals, and urban communities. Kwankwaso, on the other hand, has a well-established political structure in the northwest, particularly through the Kwankwasia movement, which has proven to be highly organized and consistent over time. When you look at these two blocks side by side, what you are really seeing is the possibility of a cross-regional alliance that cuts across major voting zones in Nigeria. That alone is significant because elections are not just about popularity, they are about spread and reach. The Abuja Unity Summit themed "One Voice, One Vision. In Unity We Win" reinforces this direction. From my analysis, that summit was more than a symbolic gathering. It was a clear attempt to align messaging, mobilize supporters, and begin building a shared political identity. When movements start speaking the same language and pushing the same narrative, it creates momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in politics. But beyond the alliance itself, there is another factor that is quietly driving these decisions, and that is timing. The role of the Independent National Electoral Commission cannot be ignored in all of this. Electoral timelines, party registration requirements, and primary deadlines are not just administrative details. They are strategic constraints that shape political behavior. From where I stand, part of what we are seeing is a race against time. Political actors cannot afford to wait until the last minute to finalize their platforms, especially when coalition building is involved. Every delay creates uncertainty, and uncertainty can weaken even the strongest alliances. This is why movements toward new platforms or realignments often happen close to key deadlines. It is not always about preference. Sometimes it is about necessity. Administrative factors such as membership registers, party structure validation, and compliance with electoral guidelines all play a role in determining which platform is viable at any given time. So when you hear about possible defections or shifts, it is important to understand that these decisions are not made in isolation. They are influenced by a combination of political ambition and regulatory pressure. Timing, in this context, becomes just as important as strategy. Now, when you connect all of this to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the ruling All Progressives Congress, you begin to see why this development is being described as a potential challenge. The strength of any incumbent often lies in the weakness of the opposition. When opposition forces are divided, the path to victory becomes easier for the ruling party. But when those forces begin to align, especially across regions and demographics, the equation changes. From my perspective, a coordinated Obi Kwankwaso alliance has the potential to address one of the biggest issues that affected the opposition in previous elections, which is fragmentation. If their support bases can be effectively combined and mobilized, it could create a more competitive environment. However, it is also important to remain realistic. The ruling party still has an established structure, nationwide presence, and the advantages that come with incumbency. So the question is not simply whether the opposition is aligning, but whether that alignment can translate into a disciplined, unified campaign. If it can, then Tinubu's 2027 path becomes more competitive. If it cannot, then the advantage may still remain with the APC. At the end of the day, the bigger question is whether this moment represents a true game changer or just another phase in Nigeria's long history of political realignments. There are two possible scenarios here. On one hand, this could be the beginning of a more coordinated opposition effort, where lessons from past elections are applied, and unity becomes more than just a talking point. In that scenario, the political landscape would shift significantly, and the 2027 election would likely be highly competitive. On the other hand, this could follow a familiar pattern where initial enthusiasm gives way to disagreements over leadership, structure, and strategy. Coalition politics is not easy, and it requires compromise, discipline, and trust among key players. From where I stand, the success of this move will depend less on the announcement of alliances and more on how those alliances are managed over time. If the key actors involved can maintain focus, align their interests, and build a stable structure, then this could indeed be a defining moment. But if internal tensions begin to surface, then it may end up as another reshuffling that changes little in the final outcome. What is clear is that the decisions being made now are setting the stage for what 2027 will look like, and whether it becomes a truly competitive election or a continuation of existing power dynamics will depend on how these alliances evolve in the months ahead.